Welcome back to the Isolation Movement. Sam Richards here, amateur classic physique competitor, 7 years training, and on this channel we discuss everything from training to nutrition and anabolics, and most of which is anecdotal, but I also take in experiences of others and sort of consensus information around certain issues such as today's topic. So today we're going to be talking about Equipoise Boldenone, a compound which is hotly disputed as to its side effects and also as to its usefulness in a bodybuilder's stack. So what's the truth, what can it do to you, and what can it do for you? As a brief disclaimer, I am not here advising you on the use of anabolic androgenic steroids. I'm giving you a purely educational overview of this drug in question. This is purely for educational purposes and for entertainment. There is no direct advice here, and of course, if you're considering using any of these, you should consult your physician and you shouldn't do anything that's illegal in your country. So EQ is an anabolic androgenic steroid. It's injectable. It mainly got its name through the veterinary trade being a horse steroid. What's it mainly used for today? Well, it's mainly used today as an alternative to 19 NORs for bulking, for the off-season, and also for endurance athletes. They tend to take advantage of the benefits of running EQ at lower doses, and it's very, very popular in the athlete sphere. So let's talk strength scale of steroids. So EQ is fairly far towards the bottom. It's around the same realms of primobolan. About 50% as anabolic apparently as testosterone. That's why it's usually run at higher doses for bodybuilding and lower doses for endurance athletes. So this is one of those where you might be injecting a lot of volume simply to get the dose in over the course of the week. So we've spoken about how strong EQ is. Let's talk about what the recommended doses are. Well, the recommended doses for endurance purposes and for sort of output purposes is around 300 to 400 milligrams per week, as I said. That would yield you some pretty powerful results in those aspects and improve your cardio strength, as well as minimizing the amount of side effects you faced. As bulking or off-season for a bodybuilder, you're looking at anything above really 600 milligrams is what's generally recommended. Although this is debatable, and this is something that I'll delve into during this. And the most important thing when it comes to running EQ is the ratio to testosterone, and we'll get into that with the side effects next. But you want to run it at the equivalent dose or double the dose of your testosterone, somewhere between those. Usually you'll find your own sweet spot. And of course, all of this depends on the side effects you feel and whether they apply to you. So this is the tricky bit. We're going to talk about side effects, and EQ is packing quite a few complicated punches when it comes to side effects. The first side effect you need to watch out for is the aromatase inhibitor qualities of EQ. This is well purported, and More Plates More Dates has amazing content. Go look there. I tried to explain it, and there's just so many nuances. I'd rather you actually went to the source and watched his videos. I don't claim to be a scientific analysis channel. I'm very much anecdotal and just straightforward advice. So, look, people can be affected by the AI metabolites of EQ. I wouldn't recommend personally front dosing EQ for this reason, or front loading. Do not double your dose up early. You don't know how this is going to affect you. I would recommend to pin as frequently as possible. I personally pin EQ and testosterone every other day in order to make sure that changes to my estrogen levels and hormone imbalances slowly present themselves, rather than suddenly, okay, I've done my second shot for the week and suddenly I've got high estrogen, low estrogen, my doses are all wrong and I need to increase my test. Instead of that, I tend to get just a general feeling or an inkling a couple of days before anything serious is going to happen, and I'm able to reactively dose something or increase my testosterone or whatever I need to do in order to prevent an estrogen issue. So dose it as if it's any other compound, and make sure that you are all over E2 going into this, and you know how you aromatize and how you react in order to prevent any crash D2 issues. Having stuff like Dianabol on hand to rebound that is going to really come in helpful during this cycle. But this is why I say not to use it for a first cycle, maybe not even a second cycle like I have. Maybe use it a third or fourth cycle so that you know all these things going into it. Let's talk side effect number 2. That's red blood cell count. It will increase your red blood cell count, and that's almost a given. Now, all anabolic steroids tend to have a propensity to do this, but EQ is at the top of that list. It's going to cause flushing of the skin, like I have a little bit of a red tinge to my skin. It can cause other issues, and make sure that you're looking up the side effects of high red blood cell count and you're monitoring it. And I would recommend bloodletting during your cycle, going and actually donating blood if you're able to and you're not breaking any laws or rules there. So look up your local area if you can get in. Personally, in the UK, there's no chance of me getting in to donate blood. It's just so in demand. So I'd have to hire a bloodletting service, and I'd probably do that maybe somewhere around mid-cycle or, if needs be, towards the end of the cycle. Another thing that's purported to help is naringin, which is grapefruit extract, and this is recommended in some circles. Some people say it works, some people say it doesn't, but considering the fact that bloodletting isn't a permanent solution anyway, it's always worth throwing some into your supplement stack if you can find it. So US guys, you're in luck. You tend to have a source for this, but over in Europe, unfortunately, it's not very available, so bloodletting may be the only way that you can go if you're based in the EU like myself. The third and final side effect to talk about is blood pressure. Now, these are only the big 3 side effects. There will obviously be more dependent on person to person, but the third side effect is blood pressure. This tends to elevate blood pressure. It can cause some issues to do with blood pressure. So, as always, with anything that affects stuff like this, I recommend getting yourself the tools to monitor and prevent any nasty surprises. So, something like a blood pressure machine just looks like this. You've got the cuff, you've got the machine, which is time to switch on. And that can just give you a reading 2-3 times a week just to keep on top of it. For example, I know I have low DIA blood pressure and I need to keep on top of that. And if it drops below a certain number, I'll make sure to contact my doctor and make sure that anything like that, you're just using it to monitor, not manage your side effects, and don't try and, start dosing blood pressure meds and all these kind of ancillaries yourself. You'll end up on a whole pharmacy's worth of drugs. Make sure that you speak to a doctor so they can rationalise it and give you guidance either way as to what's best to do. A couple of warnings I'd give you just on using EQ. First of which is that it is a long ester. It's much longer than an ananthate ester, and it's going to take a good few months to clear from your system, unlike testosterone and ananthate, which you can get out of your system in a month. This will probably take 2 to 3 months to clear for you to be able to do a PCT, and the metabolites apparently can stick around in your body for much longer than that. So I'd highly recommend, if you're going to use this compound, to do it in a blast and cruise capacity, not to try and cycle off. It would not be recommended at all, similar to a 19 nor, but a bit less extreme. The second of which is that there is reports of estrogen rebound when coming off EQ. I think the reason for this is that obviously EQ and testosterone will leave your system at different rates. When the EQ no longer occupies the receptors, is the estrogen just floating around? There's suggestion that it does affect E1 while on cycle and elevates that, but not E2. So there could be an issue there where estrogen is still present in your body. It's just being blocked from doing any harm or actually affecting your body at all. So then as soon as you come off the EQ and that starts to taper down, the estrogen rebound can happen. So just keep an eye on this. Make sure to be getting post-cycle bloods, even if you're just going down to a cruise. Just assess where your levels are at. Get a comprehensive test, not just here's your E2 and your test. And just make sure that you're feeling out any issues and, dose on the side of caution. If you need to throw in a 0.25 milligram dose of ADEX, every other day when you're coming off, then, that might be something you'd have to do. Just better safe than sorry. So it seems like a pretty negative picture so far. Why did I choose to run it then? And why would I still recommend it? The way I see it is that the list goes training, food, anabolics, in that order. Anything you can do at this bottom level of anabolics to benefit the top 2 is going to exponentially increase your abilities and your progress. EQ has 2 effects, one of which is the endurance effects, which counts for weightlifting and doing heavy reps, heavy sets, long workouts. Makes them feel slightly easier. Another benefit that it has is that it increases your appetite, and I've felt this a lot now. My force feeding now is 500, 600 calories more than it was before. I'm gaining weight much faster. It's much easier to put the food away. So it benefits the top 2 factors in pretty brilliant ways. It's not a heavy estrogen compound. It doesn't convert really. So you don't have to worry about piling on loads of water weight and looking like a balloon, or that you're just out of shape. It's a great compound for those who are looking to stay a bit leaner during their bulk, or people who really care about how they look year round. And for an off season, I'd say don't be afraid of the fact that it's less anabolic. It's a great one to add in to maximise the benefits of the testosterone you're taking if you're not running it at high enough doses for it to be a powerful anabolic agent itself. So look, thanks very much for tuning in, guys. This is just my experience, and that's only to date. Apparently estrogen issues can become more prevalent later in the cycle, so I'll keep you posted. Like and subscribe for more videos on topics of anabolics, training, diet, everything such as that. And drop your comment below as to what you want to see and what your experience of Equipoise was. Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear it because I've still got a few weeks to face with this. And obviously I welcome any input that you might have.